All right, thanks.
And Andrew,
I
I
was
see your
working-
message too.
I was working.
So
with
if you
Cole,
get them to Jesse, he'll try to pop them in the PowerPoint. If not, you can share your screen. All right, let's give a few more minutes for people to join here, and then we'll get started.
And Melinda, in your email from yesterday is where you gave us Jesse's email.
I will send it to you right now in case you don't have it.
Okay, thanks.
Jesse, is that okay? All right, just another minute and then we can get started.
I sent my map to Jesse and you.
Thanks.
Ditto.
I'm
Thank
working on
you.
it.
Hey, Melinda, did you get my revised slide this morning?
I did, yes.
All right,
And
thank
Jesse
you.
popped it into the slideshow. So
It's a pretty significant error. So
yeah, I mean, maybe if you just leave it, the feds won't notice either, and we could get 300 million.
Okay.
Melinda, is my audio working? This is Tim.
Yeah, I hear you, Tim.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
Jesse and Melinda, you should have my PowerPoint. I responded to both of you.
I'm sure it's making its way through.
Right?
Right. Oh, I will go ahead and share my screen. I'm sure more people will trickle in as we get started. Okay.
Yeah. They're not starting yet.
All right, guys, we can go ahead and get started. I'm Melinda Von Steen. I'm the Central Ohio Greenways Program Manager here at MORPC. I get to work on all kinds of trail-related projects throughout the region. So I support communities in their own trail planning efforts, help connect communities with their neighbors so that all trail projects are aligned and people can seamlessly walk or bike across jurisdictional boundaries. We're also doing a lot to encourage that type of collaboration, and we're working to develop a culture in our region of walking and biking, something that's not only possible to do in our region when we need to, but something that's safe, comfortable, and enjoyable to do in our region. So today we have an awesome lineup of speakers who are here today to talk about the trail projects that they're working on that go beyond just basic trail infrastructure, just basic bike lanes, and are trying to ensure that we can all have a fun safe and comfortable experience out on our trails. So before we get started with our lineup of speakers, I just wanted to share a few updates of what we're doing here at MORPC related to trails. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that we recently applied to the federal RAISE program, so Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. We submitted a planning application for a project we're calling Trail Towns in the nation's heartland. Thank you to many of you on the call today for partnering with us and being interested in a joint project. Our partners on that effort are the Buckeye Trail Association, Buckeye Lake Area, Mount Vernon, Ohio to Erie Trail Board, and Rails to Trails Conservancy. So thanks everyone for working with us on that. Essentially what we're planning to do if we're awarded is expand our trail vision from 8 counties to 15. And also do some trail town visioning and design work in 3 communities within our region to really build a model and for what trail town work can look like for Central Ohio. Similar to that, just yesterday, the ATIP federal application, or NOFO, was released. So that's Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program. This program is a federal program that looks to build out active transportation networks or plan active transportation networks and trail networks throughout the country. So MORPC is planning to apply for this program. I know that there were a number of communities that were interested in partnering with MORPC on the RAISE application. So if you weren't able to partner with us on that one or want to partner again on another federal application, please reach out to me. We'd love to have your ideas for that proposal as well. So those are the major COG updates. I also wanted to remind everyone about Link Us. This is the region's a proposal for a better, more reliable transit. So that includes enhanced high capacity transit facilities, and then also connecting safe pedestrian and bike facilities to transit opportunities. So if this Link Us program is funded, we would see lots of our trail projects being funded and connections to trail projects being expanded. So Jesse will, or I will pop a link to the Link Us website in the chat. And I think some of our speakers will also be touching on Link Us as well. All right. So I guess diving right in, we can jump into our innovative trail projects. First up, we have Brad Westall, who will be talking about the Linden Green Line. And then I will also just give the next speaker a heads up. So after Brad, we will have Justin.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Melinda. Good introductions. Exciting times here. I'm still trying to get my video to work, but you know what? I memorized a couple slides because I want to talk to you just spend a few minutes with you on the Linden Green Line. Do you have them pulled up, Melinda?
She's muted.
You may be, right?
Sorry, yes, I have your slides popped up. Let me know when you want me to flip.
Thank you. You know, I read through this agenda. I can't believe the amount of excellent regional projects that you're going to discuss, ask questions, comments about. The Linden Green Line is, of course, near and dear, and I appreciate the chance to spend a few minutes with you on it. I think a fair amount of the audience has at least some sort of introduction to what was a former abandoned rail corridor that ran from 17th Avenue, Windsor actually, up to Cooper Road and up to Westerville. That line has laid vacant for a long time. If you could go to the first slide, Melinda, that has a map on it, right? That shows you the location of 7 miles of corridor. We acquired that with Clean Ohio Help in November of 2023, about 5 months ago, and have been working on that for a number of different years. So it's not like it's been just off everybody's radar and aha. It actually finally, shall we say, came together and made sense by a negotiation sense to acquire it and what have you. Go to the slide if you could. The first slide shows you that where it represents. The second slide shows you this is where it sits in the Central Ohio Greenways, the COG network. So all of those dark gray lines, be they solid or dashed, that's really the plan, right? And for Greenways, not for all the SUPs and different important things that we're doing regionally, but just to show you that it touches Allen Creek Trail in two ways. One along Hudson and Mock Street towards the bottom, to the south, and one directly up at Cooper Road. The advantage of this for that amount of community that lives near this is they now have something that was derelict, abandoned, trashed, inaccessible, a barrier really for streets and walking into something that was usable. The next map, Melinda, should be the one that shows the aerial, kind of an enlargement if you've got that. I apologize, guys, not to be following my own program. I can talk all day about it though, but I won't. The 7-mile line shown on that map, if you squished it together, 60 to 80 feet wide and just kind of made a big square out of that, that would be 58 acres. In a dense inner city neighborhood, 58 acres of parkland, be it skinny, is huge. You never are going to invent a green space like that. You're not going to make one unless you have a linear park. The vision of just taking this from only, an important trail project into a park space was immediate for not only here in my department and section, but for the neighborhoods and communities we've talked about, because they don't have enough playgrounds, park space, or accessibility to green space. So the linear park idea is where we're going. And I would be happy to share that map to you, but I don't want to forget one statistic that it shows. And that is that 130,000 people are in the walk shed of the Linden Green Line. That's about 15% of the city of Columbus. They don't have a river or a greenway that we're all so accustomed to in COG. They don't have one. This becomes their greenway. And that resonance for those of you who develop trails, knowing that sometimes you got to go and work with what you got. That's exactly what this project exemplifies. So we're excited to be exploring it. We're clearing some of it. Some of it has been taken over by encroachments, right? There's going to be a lot to do with this, but where are you going to find something with that many neighborhoods, community centers, 19 schools, and this one really kind of blows me away, 40 access points. That's one about every 2-3 blocks. Is a way to get on the Linden Green Line. Accessibility is one of the hardest things to include with regional greenways, and all of you who develop them know exactly what I'm talking about. Getting people to and from, making it convenient for me, whether I just need it for a short walk or I need it to get to work, is one of the bigger challenges. Melinda, you can go on to the next, sort of scroll through the next couple of study maps that we prepared about this. The first one deals with connectivity and safety. The fact is the Cleveland and Westerville Road corridors are two of the most dangerous in all of Columbus for walking and riding, period, both in terms of injury and in fatality. That was kind of discovered as we went into the data and found that out. Also, the CMAX, which runs along Cleveland, is a transit-oriented, the first ever really in Columbus, for rapid bus transit. And there's 19 access points where, excuse me, I, as a resident, can live and get very close to that transit stop. And everybody's heard this 1,000 times. Last mile is the biggest barrier to people using transit. It's the biggest barrier to, getting out of my car and getting out of my comfort zone and using transit. We're pretty happy about that. There's a lot of aspects in these maps that show that. There's one called Neighborhood Assets and Culture, Melinda. next one, 40,000 jobs. Again, we talked about people, we talked about all the households, but look at the Morse Road sort of yellow blobs on there, east into the east, right? And the Morse Road business corridor to the left. Again, these are last mile places. You cannot access those safely unless I'm in my car and I'm traveling through that traffic, or with the Linden Green Line, I can have an alternative form right through the heart of my community. That's resonated a lot with people, and we're pretty excited about that. If you go to the photograph, let's look at a typical of this. This is that photo that you see there, and I hope you're seeing it. And thank you, by the way, Melinda, for your excellence, as always, in AV work. You must have done that when you were in grade school, because I can tell you're doing a great job.
Wow, no one's ever said that before. So
I know,
glad it's working out today.
I know, really. Well, it's time to acknowledge it. You have a lot of skills. First of all, there is the property in that green grass shard that you see there, with 2 alleys on either side of it and the Linden STEM Academy on the left. That's the Greenway. Unusable. This is a particular piece where somebody mowed it. I don't know who. It could be a resident. And you have what is called the barrier. Those 2 alleys run north-south, parallel to the Green Line, but they don't cross it. Railroads, interstates, arterial streets are the major barriers of COG. And in this case, why can't that become a green space? Why can't that become a path? Why can't that 10-foot path allow access for those kids to utilize, expand the playground space, have a family park there? Why can't the Greenway leftover area have room for a small shelter? Why can't it have room for, as the next slide shows you, hard courts? Again, I don't have those in my neighborhood, many people have told us. And frankly, it's a little risky for us to try and, play on streets, walk on streets. Why can't we have what other communities have? The Green Line offers that opportunity. In this diagram, which was prepared for us with help from Andrew Overbeck, a COG, founder, original, if you will. The library, the CML, Columbus Metropolitan Library, is on the left, about 2 blocks, not even quite off the Linden Green Line. Take these kinds of communities and make it more than a trail, but provide that access, left and right, east and west from it. And we show some things in here about affordable housing infill that right now, those are blank vacant lots that offer opportunity for, some call it transit-oriented development. I'm going to call it trail-oriented development. I mean, come on, man, this is COG. It's our time to own that. And that opportunity is interesting along the Green Line because Nationwide Children's Hospital is going to be investing about $150 million in Linden for affordable housing projects, many of which are right along the corridor, the Linden Green Line. There's a whole lot of things cooking with this. We're excited that finally we really invent and introduce COG into the inner city neighborhood of Linden. And I'll leave it there. Thanks, Melinda, and everyone for your time.
Thanks, Brad. It's a really exciting project. It's fun to see it come to life. I know you've been thinking about it for a really long time. So congrats on all of that. And I look forward to seeing it built here soon. Justin, I think I said you were up next.
But
Amy, are you okay going now, or I can
Sure, absolutely. And it probably works better because Justin can talk about both projects because he's actively involved in both the Capitol Line and the Capitol Trail, and so he'll be a better batting cleanup person. But hi everyone, I'm Amy Taylor. I work with Downtown Columbus Inc. Formerly the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation. We just changed our brand last week, so please forgive me if I forget. We've been working on the Capitol Line. Gosh, this concept originally came up in 2010. when we were working on the downtown strategic plan. It got solidified when we did the 2022 plan. And what we really heard is that we've done a great job downtown in building assets. We've done a poor job downtown in connecting those assets. So an example is on December 2nd of last year, we had 100,000 people downtown. There was Winterfest going on at Dorian Green. We had a Santa at the Lazarus Building, 400,000 holiday lights at Columbus Commons. We had the Nutcracker going on. We had markets. We had a Gay Street event. And yet I don't think people went to more than 2 of those things. Even though from Columbus Commons to Dorian Green, it was a nice day. It would have been a nice walk. You would have had a completely different experience. But what we haven't done is created that yellow brick road, that pathway to get people there. Do you advance the slides, Melinda, or do I? Perfect. So we created the Capitol Line. It's an urban pathway in the heart of downtown Columbus. We announced it in February of this year, but we began work on it in November of 2022. So what you saw was a 14-month process that got us to this point. It's a 2-mile pedestrian trail. It's going to create linkages to the assets that we've already built and invested in this community. Forgive me, we're doing a fire drill in my building. Exclusive to pedestrians and cyclists. So the other thing that we heard, we really had the bike warriors come out in the downtown strategic plan, and they said that they don't feel comfortable riding their bikes downtown because we don't have any low stress lanes. We have a lot of bike lanes, and the city's done a really good job of creating that. But when you've got aggressive drivers trying to pull in, when you've got on-street parking, they don't always feel safe. So this is in a lot of ways solving several problems that we heard in the strategic plan. The third thing it's going to solve is that it's going to allow for both local and national public art installations. It's going to allow for kiosks, especially along the riverfront, which doesn't have an opportunity for those third spaces or retail. Next slide. These are images. I firmly believe a picture speaks 1,000 words, but I want to make sure that people understand that these are not full renderings of the design. They are conceptual and inspirational. In fact, we're in the process of hiring the engineering and design team right now. But this will give you a flavor for what we're thinking of. The Capitol Line is going to be a probably changing width, but somewhere between 12 to 16 feet. Along the 2-mile loop. And we have, but we're going to start along Gay Street. It's one of our most active and dynamic streets. And so the Capitol Line is going to be part of the reimagination of Gay Street. And you can see an existing condition right here at 4th and Gay. And then you can see a potential design. The Capitol Line is where the bikes are. On the left of the screen, what you're going to see is a more pedestrian focused street. Gay Street will still have cars, but how can we be a street of the future rather than anchored as a street in the past? Next slide, please. This is, again, these next few slides are really just looking at the existing conditions and what we envision it could be. So Gay and 3rd, it got an update about 15 years ago. The medians got put in, Gay went 2 ways, and that was a great first step. But we know more now. We're in a post-COVID environment in which we're doubling down on residential. We understand that retail is very important. And we understand that we have some folks that are not going to come back to the office 5 days a week. And so we need to create reasons why it might be more walkable and pedestrian focused. And so you can see here, while Gay Street does have some trees and a narrowed median right now, what the possibilities are if we actually make it a pedestrian forward curbless street. We looked all over the country at examples from places in New York, for places in Denver. I think our planners even looked outside of the country. When we looked at a trail like this, like the Capitol Line, we looked at Indianapolis, we looked at the High Line in New York, we looked at some concepts happening in Denver and in Miami and in Atlanta. And what we found is for every dollar that was invested, a minimum of $13 was seen in return in economic development, whether that's increased property value, whether that's more money spent, and so additional sales tax collected. And so we really believe this is an economic development tool as well as a pedestrian focused tool. So this is how we can change an intersection that is focused on cars to an intersection that is pedestrian forward. Next slide. Again, this is what further west on Third. And so really what you see, and I don't want anybody getting nervous. I know Justin's already gotten calls. We are not saying we're going to take out all of those parking spaces. We are saying that we are going to look at how to provide parking maybe in a more comprehensive way and provide more space on the street for kiosks, for outdoor dining, for curbless experience. And so the good news is we have some streets in Columbus, downtown Columbus, that have really provided that. And we're looking to make Gay Street the premier, take all of those lessons learned and really make Gay Street the best one of the bunch. Next slide. And then, last June, thanks to Jeff Edwards, we were able to unveil Current, which is a Janet Eckelman piece that hangs over High and Gay. And we actually started to think about High and Gay differently. In order to install and deinstall the piece, we have to close Gay and High. And I don't think people had really thought about that besides for, the minor parts for the races that we have downtown. And so this is making us think differently. We're lucky to have very visionary city partners to help us think through that. And so we have an example here in which we're going to look at Gay Street differently, allow for markets, allow for potential closures, more public art. And we're going to start this summer with what's called an undercurrent event series. So we're going to look to have an event every month starting in May and going through December underneath Current. Now, whether that's closing High and Gay or whether it's looking just east or west of that to the alley, we're still talking with our partners at the city. But I think the important part is that we're seeing our streets as places that everybody belongs. It's one of the few places, if you put public art, you don't have to worry about museum prices or people being intimidated. The sidewalk and the streets belong to everyone. And we want to really start taking advantage of that, like cities already are doing, but we want to be at that forefront. Next slide. And some people are like, why are you starting at Gay Street? I believe that we will have a 4-segment process for the sequence of the Capitol line. And the first is going to be along Gay Street from 4th to Front. And the reason we're starting there is Gay Street is our densest residential neighborhood right now, and it's only going to become more dense. There are almost 1,700 residents living there now. We've got almost 800 residential units under construction, another 3,000 plus residents projected by the end of 2025, and 6,000 plus residents projected by the end of the decade. And so we want to get Gay primed and ready. The strategic plan, the community said that they really wanted us to focus on residential, and they want us to have 40,000 residents by 2040. Now that is a stretch goal, but we've got to start somewhere, and it's by doing projects like the Capitol line that we're going to get there. And I think the way I think about it is that Columbus is already on the upward trajectory with how to use public spaces. I mean, this is the heir to tearing down a mall and creating Columbus Commons, to narrowing the river and creating the Scioto Greenways, to creating the Scioto Mile out of a roadway and instead slowing down traffic and really providing unique public space. So I think this is the natural next component. I'd be happy to take any questions, or like I said, Justin is going to talk about how the Capitol line and the Capitol Trail are complementary, not competitive. And so we can wait until the end of that to take questions if that's easier. Oh, sorry, here is the timeline. We are in the middle of making the design selection now. We really are hoping to have a construction team on board by 2025 and begin construction, whether it's spring or summer 2025. And we'll know more once we bring the design team on board and really figure out, this is a complicated project. Even though we did a renovation of Gay Street 15 years ago, we didn't really have to deal with curbless streets. So stormwater was able to be dealt with in a different way. And we know it's going to be complicated, but we also know that working with our city partners, we can push this forward and really hit an aggressive schedule.
Thank you, Amy. This is fantastic. Love to see all of the imagery and all of the forward thinking that you all are doing. So yeah, let's go ahead and have Justin talk about some related projects, and then if there are any questions, we can take those at the end.
Great.
And then Tim, you're up next.
Can folks hear me? Melinda? Yeah,
Mhm.
great. Thanks, Amy. As Amy noted, I'm going to talk about a project that we really see as aligned and complementary to the Capitol line, which we've called the Capitol Trail. And we've gotten some questions about, well, which one's which? So hopefully we can clarify here. First, though, I want to just commend all the work that Brad Westall's been doing on the Linden Green Line. We're really excited about that project as well. And the Department of Public Service, we're really happy to be partnering with Brad on pursuing grant funding for that. And we'll be partners at the table to make those street crossings as safe as possible as part of that project. And a good example of more and more of these trail projects really are interfacing with the public right of way, whether it's at intersections or in this case, even entirely along the street right of way. So the Capitol Trail, we're talking about Broad Street through downtown and the Near East Side. And this concept evolved over the course of a number of aligned planning initiatives over the past couple of years. So this slide is showing some excerpts from a technical assistance program that MORPC assisted the city with in 2022, the Downtown and Near East Side Trail Access and Connectivity Study. It's a mouthful, but we recognized a need to, as Amy noted, improve our safe bicycle and pedestrian connectivity through downtown. We want to continue to improve and build on what we have in terms of bike facilities, which currently are largely unprotected facilities through downtown, and make those more physically protected over time. We're exploring that right now with our Bike Plus planning process, which is underway at the city as well. And through the course of this planning effort, it really aligned, it was sort of serendipitous. I'll say DCI CDDC at the time was leading the downtown strategic plan process. This excerpt from our planning document actually includes materials from the downtown strategic plan. So you can see an inset there that shows the emerging idea of a loop through downtown that's evolved further into the Capitol line that Amy just presented on. And also thinking about how these other facilities and roadways can tie into a loop like that. And want to again thank Andrew Overbeck, who's on the call here, as Brad mentioned earlier, who worked on the downtown strategic planning processes and was at the table with us and MORPC on developing the concept that emerged into the Capitol Trail. And on the next slide, I'll give it a second to get there. Broad Street really continued to rise to the top of conversation and technical analysis. So we had a number of stakeholder workshops and identified a number of potential corridors for prioritizing improvements for bike and pedestrian connectivity. You see a number of them highlighted throughout downtown and the Near East Side. But Broad Street really did rise to the very top in terms of addressing safety issues, crash analysis, connectivity to green space and cultural institutions, demographics, equity, access to surrounding neighborhoods, a number of factors that really kept bringing us back to, can Broad Street really be emphasized as a signature connection? And if we go to the next slide, part of this conversation was connecting these bookends that we have in our Central Ohio Regional Trail System with the Scioto Trail on the west side and Alum Creek Trail on the east side, bookending downtown and the Near East Side, and looking for a really signature connection between those two trail systems as part of the regional trail vision. So a piece of this also is looking for opportunities to continue to improve the connectivity of the Ohio to Erie Trail connection, which right now requires users to work through regular traffic in downtown, on the north side of downtown. So this just shows there are a number of open spaces that we can connect to. And on the next slide, and again, I want to thank Andrew and MKSK. This is more material from the Downtown Strategic Plan. All of the various cultural institutions along or near the that we could link together, and then looking at north-south connections that could link into this east-west trail connection. Another slide highlighting employment centers and places of education on the next one. Give it a second. So again, just you can see the density of destinations along Broad Street or near Broad Street. The other thing that was happening at the time of this planning process is, yeah, thank you. And if we could toggle, yeah, just toggle back and forth on those diagrams. So Broad Street, a depiction of what Broad Street is today. We all know Broad. It's very, very wide. Lots of lanes of traffic. I think we all agree more lanes of traffic than we need. There's a lot of space to work with. And again, renderings developed through the Downtown Strategic Plan process, but in conjunction with the Link Us planning effort and working in conjunction with the Central Ohio Transit Authority to design center running bus rapid transit along Broad Street. So this is a depiction of the West Broad Street corridor. So through downtown, actually, this is technically East Broad. So we're looking just east of High Street. But this signature BRT line, which is moving quickly through the design process right now, in partnership between the city and CODA and MORPC, will connect the east side of downtown all the way through throughout Columbus, through the west side of Columbus to Prairie Township. So this is going to be a huge investment in transit infrastructure in the city. And as Melinda noted, also, as we pursue the regional funding strategy for Link Us, there will be dedicated funding for what we call transit supportive infrastructure. So sidewalk improvements, trail improvements, bikeway improvements. And what's emerged through the series of conversations is thinking about Broad Street not just as a primary transit corridor, but also this opportunity for a high quality protected bicycle or shared trail facility in an urban context. So this diagram depicts what could be a two-way cycle track, but protected with landscaping, with physical raised protection. I will say that's one concept of what the design could be. And as we move forward in thinking about what this could be, we continue to gravitate more towards the idea of, as Amy noted with the Capitol line, something that would be more akin to the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, for instance. We're not as far along as having the level of renderings that DCI has shared for Gay Street and the Capitol line, but we really think about these projects as interconnecting and mutually supporting each other, and ultimately having a similar design palette, so that as you're coming from the Near East Side or from the side of Trail and entering Broad Street would be your connection point to that loop that goes through downtown, and all over time speaks as one design palette through downtown and connecting into our surrounding neighborhoods. We go to the next slide. And I see David's asking, great timing for your question, David, about funding. So where are we in various projects here? So the Link Us West Broad Street corridor right now is at a 60% design level. There are rapid series of meetings between the city and CODA and ODOT to work through the design details. As I noted, that diagram showed a concept for a preliminary layout for a portion of what we envision as the Capitol Trail on Broad Street in the downtown portion. Folks may have heard just last week, we're really excited. CODA was awarded a $42 million federal grant. That's a portion of the funding source for the entire West Broad Street corridor. But these are big projects, the BRT corridors and the other pedestrian and bike infrastructure along the corridors. So they require essentially multiple funding sources. And most significantly, I think folks are aware, we do expect CODA to pursue a ballot initiative this November. And that's really critical to secure the local match for us to be able to pull down significantly more federal dollars. So please keep an eye out for Link Us. As Melinda noted earlier, go to linkuscolumbus.com. You can find more information. And that really will be a critical path towards us being able to implement the Capitol Trail on Broad Street as well as the BRT. Also, City of Columbus at the end of last year was awarded a separate grant, a little bit smaller. Melinda, thank you for correcting my error. My earlier version said 375 million. That's more. That would be more to the tune of the West Broad Street BRT, but we were awarded $375,000 from Federal Safe Streets for All grant last year to do a pilot demonstration project for protected bike facilities on the Near East Side portion of West Broad Street. So just outside of downtown, but also a critical piece. We're talking about overall Scioto Trail to Alum Creek Trail, 3 miles of urban greenway. This grant will allow us to do an initial demonstration of protecting bike facilities on 2 miles of that from Parsons Avenue over to Nelson Road, getting to the Alum Creek Trail. Our intent is to initiate that demonstration project later this year, and that will set us up for a full resurfacing of Broad Street and the Near East Side in partnership with ODOT next year. And then that will be an incremental step towards the longer term vision of continuing to improve Broad Street to get to the point of a really high quality trail that feeds into what we see envisioned for the Capitol line. And to that end, moving forward here as the Capitol line and the Gay Street design process move forward, the city will be working really closely with DCI and the consultant team to understand what are the design parameters that help to tie all of these projects together, so that the users really see this as one integrated system. So there's a lot of exciting work happening and lining up from a scheduling perspective in the next year here.
Thank you, Justin and Amy. This is really fantastic to see all of these various efforts align and kind of work towards the same goal. I think a lot of people that are using these facilities aren't going to see these projects as separate. They're going to see the environment change and for it to be safer and more comfortable and enjoyable downtown. So great job. Love to see all of these projects aligning, and look forward to seeing how it all shakes out. I'm sure we'll hear more at future forums about the progress. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll try to get them answered while we move through the program. Okay, next up we have Tim Maloney with Metro Parks talking about the Heritage Trail, and then JM, you'll be on deck next.
Well, hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me follow 3 absolutely amazing presentations. So just to lower everyone's expectations, I will not be as amazing as everyone who was before me. And the strange thing is I guess I'm the only one that's never scared of a microphone, but this is a much bigger team, and I'll get into who's all involved in this Heritage Trail extension as we talk about the project. But the reality of it is this Heritage Trail started many years ago, and it was a collaboration between, residents, users, and Hilliard, who really created this great trail from what's called Old Hilliard all the way to almost Plain City up the Cemetery Pike. But it's an orphan trail. It really is just a trail that serves that northwest part of central Ohio. Normally, when you have an orphan trail, you don't see a whole lot of use, but this trail sees between 350,000 to 500,000 people every year who get on the trail, a little bit for commuting purposes, but mostly for recreational use. Well, the Heritage Trail extension is going to be a major change in that. It's going to take it from this great trail to a regional connector that's going to not only connect almost to Plain City, and little secret here, we're working up there at that end to get it all the way into Plain City, but it'll really connect this trail all the way down to downtown Columbus. It'll probably terminate somewhere right around the Olentangy Trail, but what we're using as our speaking point is lower.com field. It'll really terminate down there. It'll cross the river. It'll cross 2 different rivers. It'll cross several different major roads. And it's just going to be an amazing connection to really link that northwest part of our area all the way to downtown Columbus. Little sidebar, we talked a lot about the housing growth in downtown Columbus. There are many, many housing developments or plans for housing along this corridor. There's 2 that are just popping up now along Hayden Run that are going to be over, 3,000 to 5,000 new homes along this corridor that now these people are going to be connected to either major trail systems or downtown Columbus. But I have to go backwards to go forwards. This story really is about partnerships. All the ones you've heard previously, you've heard that word partnerships. I'm going to say this one involves the most players. And if I forget somebody, I apologize. But this is really a Hilliard, a Columbus, Franklin County engineers, Upper Arlington, Marble Cliff, and Grandview Heights with a little dab of Metro Parks involved in there. And I have to thank all our partners here that we are working full speed ahead on this on a handshake. These are city leaders and staff who really understand the importance of this connection and how important it is. And we're working a little bit blind because this land is owned by Norfolk and Southern Railroad. And I know everybody on this line has had amazing experiences working with the railroads. They're easy to work with. It's simple, straightforward, but this one's a little complicated. And I say that in joke. In reality, Norfolk has been great on this project. Now, the challenge we have is Norfolk owns the line. They've leased out some rights to CSX on this line. They won't tell us how much money they want for it. They'll kind of just tell us that, yeah, we'll sell it to you, but we don't know for what. So we brought in another partner, the Open Space Institute, which is a land trust out of New York, who, they specialize in conservation, clean water, climate protection, recreation, habitat, and healthy communities. But they've also developed a great working relationship on the East Coast with Chessie Systems, CSX, and Norfolk and Southern. So they've really taken the lead on the negotiation for this takedown. And that's kind of where we are in this project. We are working full speed ahead to get a contract to purchase this land. And this land, to one-up Brad, is 8 miles long. So it's one step better than the Linden line. Sorry, Brad, I had to get a dig in there. But to take down this line, I kind of mentioned that we have to get Norfolk to agree to a price. The other thing that we have no experience in is part of this line, all of it is owned by Norfolk and Southern, but part of it, they have rail rights, which is with Chessie Systems. And it's a unique dance because we're negotiating with Norfolk to buy it, but Chessie Systems has rights if they want to buy it, if it becomes for sale. So it's just a dance. But we're very confident that this line is going to be taken down. It hasn't been used in years. If you're familiar with the Hilliard area, it's completely grown over. If you're familiar with the downtown kind of Dublin Road, Grandview Heights area, that line has not been used for years. It's just this little center section by 270 that Chessie still puts a train on maybe once a week. But, the efforts have really, to this date, been put together for building this coalition. And at the end of the day, it's going to be, a give or take $20 million takedown. And so we've got city council, city managers, leads all around. Well, how much are we going to owe? And that's undetermined at this point in time. The good news is we've been working with the state government, and really Stephanie Coonsey, our state senator out there, has been a champion. We got $1.5 million in state capital dollars a few years ago, and keeping our fingers crossed, we've got the state house has tentatively agreed to an $8 million strategic one-time funding commitment to this project. So we're already at about $10 million of state money that is going to help us with the takedown and maybe eventual development of this line. I'm not paying attention to any of my slides, so North, do I ever. So just bear with it. If they're interesting, more interesting to me, to read those. But, you know, really the next steps for this is in takedown. About once a week, I get a call from open space saying, hey, we've done this, we've done that. And kind of that process, we had a rough estimate of what Norfolk and Southern wanted for this. They have done an appraisal on this line that they have not shared with us. Open Space Institute commissioned an appraisal on this line, and it's all of these are right around that $20 million takedown. And for those of you who are wondering how a rail line is worth $20 million, I'm in your boat. I have no idea how they're worth $20 million, but they use something called over the fence pricing, and it really looks at all the adjacent properties. Along that lines, getting into the economic development world, and this is where our friends at Hilliard and Columbus, this line is a little different than the Linden line. It's got some sections that are 300-foot wide that are primed for economic development, whether that's in retail, whether that's in business, whether that's in housing. That's kind of up for our partners to decide how they want to work on that. The other exciting part of this line is the potential for utility improvement, whether that's in stormwater, whether that's in sanitary sewer or water lines. You know, our folks over in Grandview Heights are all excited about this, that this can maybe help with their demand on their sewer and water lines. So it's a complicated issue for a very simple approach that there's an 8-mile line that needs taken down. Other exciting points of this, you know, when you build a trail, one of the most expensive things you do is build bridges. Well, the rail line already has 3 major bridges on this line crossing the Olentangy River, State Route 315, and the Scioto River. The Scioto, oh, right there on that slide there, that's the 315 crossing right before the Olentangy River crossing. These are exciting developments for us because the bridge construction would be huge in cost. So hopefully what we can get is in the takedown, we're going to have our bridges in place. And then next steps really are the takedown, then design and engineering. Our friends over at the county engineer have said they'll start and help with us on the design and engineering. And then it gets into construction. And I think that's going to fall on Metro Parks to really work on the construction of this line. And then we'll work with our other partners on the maintenance and operation as this trail goes forward. But it's an exciting project, just like all the other ones you've heard. And we hope, fingers crossed, to have a purchase contract in place sometime in 2024. Unless there's questions, we'll turn it over to even more exciting operations.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. This is another really awesome project that's going to connect into downtown. So I don't know, I'm having a good time listening to all the fun projects. So if you have any questions for Tim, pop them in the chat. Next on deck, we have JM, but it's going to require me to stop sharing, and I'm going to share another PowerPoint that has your slides in it, JM. So give me a second on the slides.
I can also share, Melinda, if that's helpful.
Well, Jesse was able to create a second PowerPoint with your slides and Terry's slides and Andrew's slides. So if I can get this to work, then the rest should be pretty seamless. Okay, here we are.
Perfect. Thank you, Melinda and Jesse, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about the Signature Trail in Dublin. This is still fairly early on. We're doing a study, but I'll get into what we have in our thinking and our approach, and happy to take any questions. Next slide. We're currently updating our community plan in Dublin. We're calling it Envision Dublin. And we have a steering committee that's been able to provide recommendations on, towards we get our final approval through council. One of the things that's worth sharing is that we're looking at this from a different angle. Traditionally, we've looked at our transportation system with private autos at the top of the tier and pedestrians at the bottom. We can flip it, and that's what we get. But the steering committee was like, let's take it a step further. And we like pedestrians, bicycles, and public transit at top, but also want to keep private autos and rideshare above freight. So that's important going into this conversation about the signature trail. Next slide. We're looking at a different hierarchy. So a potential bicycle network hierarchy in Dublin would be a signature trail would act as the backbone. And then we have different tiers that would follow that, from the commuter routes, connector routes, local routes. And then the private paths is really speaking to Muirfield's private path system. We don't count that as Dublin's system, but we do recognize it. It's pretty extensive. So next slide. As we look at the signature trail study and what we were hoping to, it's going to be more of a feasibility to understand this concept of how it's going to lay out and where it's going to connect and other details of such. It's really important right off the bat that the trail alignment avoids long segments of roadways. We are focusing and have a preference for greenways, riparian corridors, naturally wooded areas that may be prairie lands, and also public land, parkland, just for ease of construction, but also to show off all of our parks in Dublin. Next slide. So the study area, what you're looking at is a draft of our active transportation plan as part of the update to our community plan. So you'll see that the Emerald Trail is the skinnier green line. That's part of the Central Greenways. Get that on your maps. I saw some of those not on your maps. So that is the Central Greenway. But the Emerald Trail on top of that is we want to connect this signature trail going east-west. So the western part of where that green kind of blob is in the middle, that is Dari Fields, which happens to be adjacent to our proposed passenger rail station that we'd like to build. It's also where we'd like to link us Northwest Bus Rapid Transit line to end. So having that adjacent as the trail starting and then going to the east, I don't know exactly where it's going to go. This is conceptual. It has to go through Metro Center because we want this to be an economic development catalyst for that legacy office park. So it'll have to cross there as we're contemplating in another bridge over 270, connecting Shire Rings to Metro Center, if you're familiar with the Dublin area. But we ultimately want it to end at Sawmill Road. I don't know where. Here we have it ending kind of where Emerald Parkway ends and also where Mount Carmel is building the new hospital at 270 Sawmill. It could end there, it could end the other places. So the consultant will help us with that analysis. Next slide. So the placemaking is probably going to be the most exciting part of this trail. We are looking to have a minimum of 12-foot shared use path with a 6-foot at least sidewalk or pedestrian path running parallel to that. So having both of these facilities running parallel with placemaking along the way, I want the placemaking segments to be designed and sequenced in a way that tells the narrative of Dublin's past, present, and future. So if you think of some of the past, some of our cultural and historical assets are the stone walls, but also paying homage to the indigenous history and also some other early settlers and early characteristics of Dublin. We also want to underscore the creativity and imagination as part of Dublin's brand. So this is an example of using, planter sculptures that would either have wildlife that is local to Dublin or that you can find at the zoo that's nearby, the Columbus Zoo. Next slide. But also thinking about immersive art installations as part of that experience going to the trail. And then finally ending with the futuristic kind of skin or application to the trail's end. So again, going to that past, present, future. Something that's worth noting is that with these segments, we also want to underscore when you say the present of Dublin, it's really underscoring kind of snapshot of the community. We want to celebrate that our community has the largest percentage of Asian people among any city in Ohio, but also reflect the city's multiculturalism as it relates to new Americans, people of color, and the LGBTQ plus community. So I don't know what that looks like on the trail. We're going to figure that out with the community and the consultant, but at least that's where we're heading with it and what we would like to get out of this trail. And next slide. So that's all. Happy to take any questions, but have more to share in the future as we get the study underway. Thank you.
Thanks, JM. Another awesome project. I think that it's going to be everyone's first choice to walk and bike once we get all of these projects built. So good job. All right, now we're going to shift gears from standalone innovative trail projects. I know all of these projects are tied together and linking together, but we're going to focus now on some innovative trail networks. outside of the downtown area that are doing some fantastic things. So first up, we have Andrew Bashaw from the Buckeye Trail Association.
Well, hello, everyone. I think definitely gonna, if you can hear me, change the theme a little bit, but I'm really inspired by hearing all those presentations. I went to high school in Columbus, and I got away to down here in this area in Appalachian, Ohio, but you guys make me want to reconsider coming back. But in all your pictures, you had too many buildings and cars and people. So I think they all seemed happy, but I'm going to stay down here in the hills. I only have the one slide, but it tells a story. And the part of the story is that this area really is connected to Central Ohio. And I have a neat story. I was looking through a box of old papers that had been donated to the Buckeye Trail Association, and I finally got into it, and it was a volunteer's collection of archival materials from the formation of the Buckeye Trail in 1959. And I found in there original handwritten invitation from Merrill Gilfillan, the founder of the idea of the Buckeye Trail, who lived in Central Ohio, wrote the article in 1958, and it was an invitation for the very first inaugural hike of a finished segment of the Buckeye Trail in September of 1959 in the Hocking Hills. And so I wanted to make that connection that the playground of Central Ohio in the Hocking Hills is just down 33. And there's been a connection there for traveling and recreating. And I know a lot of people are interested here and there in the public transit opportunities to connect the two regions together better, both by trail and by bus and etc., such as Go Bus. So those things that happen in eastern Central Ohio that you're speaking of, they connect to the opportunity. They will connect to the opportunities down here. So when you guys go to the Hocking Hills, travel down 33, and on the right, as you pass, in the area of Logan, Ohio, all the different options to what highlight in the Hocking Hills you want to go see, such as Old Man's Cave. But if you had gone to the left instead, you'd end up deeper into the Hocking Valley coal fields that were peaking during the late 1800s. In that area is the Athens unit of the Wayne National Forest. So I can't show you my cursor, and I know this is a busy map because it's got all the information that a planner or designer needs on it, not for public hiking yet. It's, if you see there, the village of Shawnee, that's where I'm sitting right now. It's a 1800s coal boom town in the midst of its own redevelopment. To the left of that, you see the existing Stone Church Hollow Trail in Brown. It's a horse and a hiking trail. There's 10 to 20 miles there. The blue dashed line is the Buckeye Trail that crosses the middle of the map to the purple and the other kind of orangey brown all the way through the Wayne National Forest, all the way to Burr Oak State Park, and all of its 25 miles of trail. And then to the north of Burr Oak State Park, those other brown lines are the Wildcat Hollow Trail system in the Wayne National Forest. The Buckeye Trail has been under development here since 1960. And we work with the Wayne National Forest and Burr Oak State Park and Wallace O'Dowd Wildlife Area, Smoke Rise Ranch, Burr Oak Lodge and Conference Center, private landowners, the village of Shawnee, to put this together over that many years. When we complete this project, which is funded by an ODNR Division of Mineral Resources Management AMLR grant primarily, we will have created the largest backpacking network in the state of Ohio, 100 miles or more. And we're looking to both edges to see how to make it bigger. So what we did on purpose, we got to work on this, I'd say, for the last 15 years, at least from my experience, that we had the opportunity to do something different here. And one was to practice listening to what communities want. So we are a nonprofit, small nonprofit, but we're also a trail developer that works statewide. And this community happens to be our host community, the village of Shawnee. So in our developments and kind of co-evolving with our development of a Buckeye Trail Town program, we like to highlight what we can do in Shawnee. A couple examples are in 2008, I moved the office here and I went to talk with the mayor, Mayor John Arkley. Said, I'm a trail nonprofit moving to town. Is there anything I can do for you? You know, try to keep up public relations. So he said, well, we've had a hard time working with the Wayne National Forest. We've always wanted a trail around our Tecumseh Lake that the community built in the 50s on Wayne National Forest land as their local park. So I said I would try. 10 years later of trying, finally got the permissions and the grants and the funding to build an 8-foot wide compacted gravel path around the lake. He wasn't looking for something so big, but we continued to listen. And so in our grant funding over the years, we've done tree plantings because the village wanted tree plantings in green spaces on Main Street. We've included their thoughts in our AMLR grant. So even though our goal is for a long distance backpacking trail, we're including trailhead development at their favorite park to modernize the parking, build a multi-use bike path from the Tecumseh Lake to the village of Shawnee. We've built loop trails out there that provide for 5Ks for community events that they can use now. We'll put shelter house out there, a kayak launch, and part of the relocation of the Buckeye Trail from out of the woods onto Main Street, going down the sidewalk instead of being hikers being ghosts in the woods. They will now be able to interact with the community through, purchasing goods and services on their way through an up to 5 to 7 day backpacking trip. Part of that is we're aiming to replace or remake their historic sidewalk that is buried, under the dirt. It is an original brick sidewalk to make that the path of the Buckeye Trail. So we're adding funding for their community facilities projects that provides better walking for community members. I think we've done a good job because we end up getting volunteers out of former mayors of our village. So they become members of the association and they start volunteering at our events. So I think that's a success. Other than that, I wanted to just highlight all the time and energy it takes to do all the NEPA studies.
Good. Sorry, I just missed your first attempt there. I picked it up and it was a dial tone. I was listening in on a call. I was trying to mute it.
Thank you. And through this area, there are 5 to 9 significant engineered greater than 50-foot concrete abutment bridges that go over constantly flooding streams. And so it's going to be quite not constantly flooding, seasonally flooding. It's going to be quite the project. We're going to be breaking ground on the purple and the brown parts this summer, and there'll be a groundbreaking celebration. But I wanted to also highlight that we had to, over those past 15 years, acquire the lands in between, since there's such a patchwork of public land ownership. So far to the left of the map, we bought 100 acres to connect 2 parts of the Wayne National Forest together through Clean Ohio Green Space funding. We recently closed on 2 very skinny little corridors with private landowners to connect a corridor from Shawnee into the Wayne National Forest, and even negotiated a donated trail easement from a coal company right in the middle of the map in Athens County. So pretty significant work to put together a corridor to begin with. But I also want to highlight that if you look at either end of this, going off the edges of this map to the right, you go through, the Buckeye Trail continues on its path around the state through Wolf Creek Wildlife Area and onto the village of Chester Hill. In Chester Hill, it's a stock port on the Muskingum River. Going in the other direction, On the left side of the map, there's Bach Hollow State Nature Preserve. We just barely missed the city of Logan, probably the village of Enterprise, all the way to the Hocking River. So I want to have this project in partnership with Central Ohio folks, because one of our goals is when you come down 33 and you see the options for the Hocking Hills on the right, we want you to take the option for the Little Cities of Black Diamonds region and this backpack trail and the Bailey's mountain bike trail system just to the south of this. We want you to come here instead. Hocking Hills is being loved to pieces by more than 4 million visitors a year. And this area is in need of outdoor recreation-based tourism and development. And so we're providing the green infrastructure for the local folks and entrepreneurs to build livelihoods off of. And we already see that happening both in the Bailey's Trail system in the south, which is not my project, but a sister project with Jesse Powers of the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia, and then our project up here as well. So we want this to become a competitor for the tourism, but also the improvements to the facilities in these villages as well. That is our project, Melinda.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing. Congrats and good job on all of this. I know all of the work that you've done clearly takes a lot of passion, grit, and creativity. So good job. It's fun for me to see it come together. I know I haven't been involved or been aware of all of the things that you've been working on, but it's a big deal, and I am looking forward to working with you on our Trail Town work and continuing to encourage outdoor recreation in this area of Appalachia. If you guys have any questions for Andrew, pop them in the chat, and we will continue on. I have to do another little switcheroo with the PowerPoint, but we have Tom with Ohio to Erie Trail Board up. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Melinda. It's been pretty impressive to hear what's going on. And in my talk, you're going to hear about the shift of the Ohio to Erie Trail, where we always have been about building the trail, but that build is 90% complete. So now we need to move to the next, I would call it the next phase of our life cycle. So whenever you get a chance, Melinda, bring my presentation up, and the second slide will pass the first. As Melinda does that, you can move on to the next slide. Oops. And anyway, as Melinda does that, the one thing I wanted to talk about was what we've heard today are two main focuses, I think, and it's like connections of people and places and experiences. And as a person who tours by bicycle a lot, when you tour by bicycle, it's about the experience. And what is the experience? It comes from people and places. This ODOT map that she is showing right now is pretty critical. It does just show bicycle infrastructure in the state, major bicycle infrastructure. So what you see are U.S. bicycle routes, state bicycle routes, and major trail networks. By all means, not all trails, but a common theme is emerging here. You'll see the Ohio to Erie Trail is in dark color. The reason it's so bold is because it's carrying many of those trail networks and bicycle routes. And one thing you note on this, there are definite places that are, I would call gateways. That's a term I'm going to use, gateways. So, down in Cincinnati, you have gateways to a lot. And especially if as we work up from that southwest up in the Xenia and Dayton area, there's an amazing trail network in the Miami Valley trails. And of course, Central Ohio, we've been talking about, and we know that the gateway here. And the other ones, if we head up to the Ohio to Erie Canal, the state lists that as one regional trail network. I see it as more. I see it as in the south, you have Massillon, where the Ohio to Erie Trail makes a turn and goes straight north. And then you have Akron, which is another, and finally Cleveland. So let's move on to the next slide, Melinda. So one thing that we've determined in our work as we began looking at trail towns and basically what's going on right now on the Howard Area Trail mentioned is we are redoing our mission and vision, and we're getting pretty far along on that, almost have a mission and vision ready to go. But the old one was one thing pretty much, build the trail. So now we know from what we've been doing that it's more about building a trail now. It's now about supporting people and businesses along the trail, giving visitors experience. I'll relate something that comes up with that is when I assumed the presidency a little more than a year ago, I talked to a variety of people, and Eric Oberg was one person. And I asked Eric, I said, this is kind of what I think the direction is, and what do you think it is? And Eric came back and he says, Tom, it's all about the experience. It's about building that experience, marketing that experience, expanding it and selling it. And it truly is. And that's what we've been doing on this trail now. And our work, which originally was to build the trail, we are now sort of, I would call somewhat of a destination marketing organization. We provide map sets and guides. We provide and navigation tools like Ride with GPS. Increasingly, our website now includes hotels, amenities, campgrounds, everything. But what that is, when you think about what we're doing now, we're going beyond the trailhead. So we're providing people, tools that they can explore. And over here, I just give some ideas, and you can see there's just a very diverse audience of people and reasons people are on the trail. A lot of these are visitors, but a lot of them are locals too. We're not ignoring that we provide that spine for locals to discover something beyond the trail. So go ahead and advance to the next one, Melinda. So one thing we thought about is we've been working on trail towns, and I assume everybody on this call understand what a trail town is. And we're very thoughtfully looking at this, and we're invested with Melinda on this effort too, as we've moved through the last going on 3 years now. But we started to think about what can we do now in interim, because we've provided a lot of tools, but we have not told people a lot about the cities that we pass through, the towns, the communities. So, what we attempted to do, an effort that I'm going to show you is we have a set of web pages that basically will invite people to get off the trail. And that is going to be one of our focus this year is how do we invite people to explore off the trail? What are other opportunities? And right now, the Howard Area Trail, we're marketing largely to people that are cycling across the trail. But at the same time, we have groups of people hiking, just like the Buckeye Trail. We have people hiking. We have people rollerblading the Howard Trail. There's some very interesting stories of different ways people are using this trail long distance as well as locally. And we kind of want to share where locals can go to find this different adventure. And what I mean by that is, you may be on a bike trail, but there are a multi-purpose trail, but you may be a person who wants to kayak. You may be a person who wants to hike. You may be a person who wants to geocache. You may want to be a person who wants to see historic sites. So somewhere we need to provide the means for locals to recommend that. And at the same time, we do not want to be the person that keeps this information. In other words, places like Experience Columbus or other convention and visitor bureau, like Knox County, we have a Knox County Convention Bureau. They should be the people that do that. But what we want to do is we want to point to them, but we want to tempt people with just enough appetite to explore more. And so move on to the next slide, Melinda. So we came up with this idea of gateways, and what they basically are, they're a set of web pages. We went out and we found a group of cities, towns across the trail, 3 of them. I believe we now have 4, Columbus being one. And we asked some basic questions of the things I just covered. So could you give me some information about their community and where people can go get information? At the same time, we asked them, talk to your local cyclists and have your local cyclists maybe say, this is what I would do if I was visiting this area. And so these pages were built. Now, the reason these pages were built is we have largely been advocating for and marketing to people who are going end to end on the Higher Erie Trail, typically on 5 to 7 days. But we want to give people the opportunity to say, hey, if you spend an extra day in Columbus, you can do this. If you spend an extra day in Massillon, Ohio, you can do this. So what I'm going to show you is work in progress. I have the web link up there, highererietrail.org/gateways. It is our initial attempt. I tell you that it will probably be evolving. We've purchased some more software that will enable more sharing of bicycle routes particularly. So go ahead to the next screen, Melinda. So what I'm going to show you is Massillon, Ohio. Let's talk about Massillon. I chose Massillon because I figure the people in this chat right now or this presentation are probably not real familiar with Massillon. If I chose Columbus, you would be. And so Massillon, I'll give you a brief overview of Massillon. It sits on the Higher Erie Trail. It's where the trail turns on off of paved trails. It turns on to the Higher Erie Canal towpath trail, which it follows to Columbus. That trail also heads south of the Higher Erie Trail, which, you know, our visitors do not normally see. And here I talk about some of the opportunities. In other words, if they head south, this view here is Zoar, or is an Ohio historic site, and they can see a lot of historic things. It's only 20 miles. There's kayaking opportunities along the river, and Massillon is deeply rooted in football, and so there's very much a football heritage there, and it just offers a lot. Go to the next slide, Melinda, if you would, please. So this is what the Massillon gateways as they navigate through, and this is on a mobile device, and the next screen will show it on a wider, like if you use a desktop version. So on the far left is they're listed on a gateway. We have an index of communities. They would click Massillon, and it would bring up what Massillon chose to highlight as the high points. Now they were a little wordier than some of the others, but we gave them a template. But what we learned from these communities, each had their own flavor. So now we need to reconcile that how that would look in the future as we recommend other folks to move on. The middle page basically shows some details of Massillon, and in the middle there's a green bar, you can barely read it, that says Massillon local rides. In other words, the bike shop there solicited rides for people that would recommend visitors, and we'll talk about that a little next. But and finally, what events go on, and they highlighted it. If you clicked on down, the fourth panel over is their favorite rides, and particularly if you click on the first one, which says a Higher Erie Canal towpath trail south to Zoar, and they describe that and so forth. And then finally, if you clicked on the link below, they chose to use Google Maps. Now, we've had other communities choose to use Ride with GPS or some other tool. But what's nice about this is somebody who's visiting Massillon, who's doing the towpath trail, thanks for doing that, Melinda, who wanted to explore a little more, spend another day in Massillon, or maybe they got there in the morning, they could easily click on this link and go on a very scenic natural path down to Zoar, which is quite nice. So Massillon, I believe the other rides, they had a casual ride maybe up to Canal Fulton, and I believe they did a nice job. They offered of different abilities, and they offered a more scenic rolling country ride for people who want to ride the country. And this is different for each. We see this approach, the approach that we're going to proceed with now in the future. This will probably play into a trail town network that we'll develop, but right now, we hope to provide people with information on the community. So that's about all I have to offer. And I hope you find this informative. And we would definitely appreciate your feedback. My email is president@ohio-to-erie-trail.org. And I have to hop off for Ohio to Erie Trail board meeting right now. So thank you.
Yep, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. This is really helpful, and hopefully it serves as a model for other communities that are looking to do some, trail town related promotion. So thanks. All right. If you guys have any questions for him, pop them in the chat and I can make sure that they get over to Tom. Let me stop sharing this screen and hop back over. Next, we have Terry, but we are kind of in a time crunch. So Terry, I'm going to hold you to 7 minutes, but I'll give you like a 1 minute warning if that's okay.
That is fine. I'll go fast.
Okay. All right. Let me get this PowerPoint pulled up.
While you're doing that, so Melinda and I talked about this presentation as I was trying to put it together, and I'm going to talk a bit more about who we are and our approach to getting things done, because I think that's what's made us successful so far. So that's the context for the presentation. And I can start while Melinda's doing that. So you can go to the second slide, Melinda. So I'm Terry Fisher, the president of Bike Buckeye Lake, and we're a 501c3. And our mission is to build and upkeep multipurpose trails, as well as promote the various recreational activities they're used for in the Buckeye Lake region. Next slide, please. So key milestone, July 2015, ODNR held a public meeting on the status of the Buckeye Lake Dam project. It's a 4.1 mile dam they were rebuilding, and a question came up during that meeting, will there be a trail in the dam? And you guys have all been to lake dams. They're pretty flat surfaces, and the answer was no, there was no plan for that. So a couple of people at that meeting decided that they thought there was an opportunity here, and they formed Bike Buckeye Lake in August of 2015, and then incorporated as a 501c3 in 2017. Next slide. This is a couple aerial views of the Buckeye Lake Trail. It's a pretty unique trail in that it runs for 4.1 miles right next to a lake, and it's 14 feet wide. So there's ample room for hikers and walkers and skaters and bikers. Next slide. That was our first success. Okay, so we're going to talk about the key initiatives. Yep. So the Tour to Buckeye Lake is something we came up with to raise funding for our mission and introduce people to Buckeye Lake and Bike Buckeye Lake. It started with 200 riders in 2017, a pretty loosely organized ride. This year, it'll probably be over 700 riders. We will have 3 different routes. And a couple years ago, we added a festival afterwards. So there's food, live music, and craft beer, and a lot of camaraderie under a big white tent. So next slide. We do a Christmas bike giveaway all year long. We raise money throughout the area to fund bicycles and helmets for financially disadvantaged children. It started in 2015, the year we started. We gave away 40 bikes and helmets. Last year, we gave away 134 bikes and helmets, and we've given away over 1,000 bikes and helmets to date. Next slide. So we also do 2 litter pickups a year, principally around the Buckeye Lake Trail for the first one before the ride. And secondly, we do a second one where we clean up the state parks at Buckeye Lake after the 4th of July festivities. Next slide. Okay, we're pretty excited about this. We're going to be doing our first children's bike safety rodeo. It's scheduled for May 11th and at Buckeye Lake Village. It'll be free. Every kid will get a free helmet that'll be fitted to their head, and they will be able to go through a basic and potentially an advanced rider safety clinic. And we're really excited that all 3 county health departments, so Perry, Fairfield, and Licking, are on this team with us, as well as some of the local schools, fire departments, and law enforcement agencies. So we've been talking about this for a number of years. We finally found a volunteer who would take it and own it, and we're going to make it a reality. So if you have children or grandchildren, you want to have them learn about cycling, the registration's online on bikebuckeyeLake.org. Next slide. Okay, so I said our mission was to build trails and maintain them. Why are we doing all this other stuff? So charitable works are part of our charter. It feels good to give back to the community. We're helping the next generation of cyclists learn to ride. We feel that the government agencies take us more seriously when we don't just come out into their meeting hat in hand. We're giving back to the community. We do the tour with all of its promotion, registration, parking, route marking, and festival to raise seed money, which I'll talk about in a minute. And in addition, we feel that fundraising and recruiting volunteers is much easier with this broader approach to building trails. Next slide. All right, so speaking of building trails, it doesn't take long if you're in the trail building business to hear this word, connectivity. Where does the trail you want to build go, and who's going to use it? So you can see the little red star there. That's in the middle of Buckeye Lake. There's some lines around Buckeye Lake. That's the Buckeye Lake Trail. Get more into that in a minute. But what you do also see is Ohio Bike Route 65 going north and south, and then Bike Route 50 going east and west. The Bike Route 50 section there, I believe, is part of the Erie to Ohio Trail. So we are connected to the state's network of trails. Next slide. One thing you'll learn about Buckeye Lake if you try to do anything all the way around the lake is very complicated. We have 10 jurisdictions. We have 4 regional planning organizations. Of course, we've got ODOT and all the state agencies. And then, of course, like everybody else, we have developers, individual landowners, clubs and organizations, including HOAs. Next slide, please. So here is the newly minted.
1 minute, Terry.
Okay, the newly minted Buckeye Lake Trail. And it is a series of multi-purpose trails and surface streets. And I have the level of traffic stress on there. And so that is, we actually, next slide. So we've got funding to put wayfinding signage and regulatory signage all the way around the lake, clockwise and counterclockwise. So that will designate the Buckeye Lake Trail, and we also have letters of support and resolutions declaring the Buckeye Lake Trail a local bike route. Next. Okay, so I'm going to skip this slide. All right, another piece of what we've done is this is our comprehensive map for the future, shows alternative routing so that we can take people off those roads and put them on trails. Hit next. And these are the active projects we have going on in order to move people off the roads onto trails. Next slide. So the keys we've found are having a vision, specific plans, and advocacy, being out in the community, plus trail connectivity, plus inclusion in all the active transportation plans. In our case, there's quite a few, plus local support, government and citizens, plus we need a trail custodian, somebody that's going to make this trail, even if we get the capital dollars, and then maybe we get funding. Next. So our approach, create concrete vision, specific maps, plans with alternatives, build a team. This is a ultra marathon, not a sprint. Enlist the government agencies. One thing I want you guys, we found free tools. So QGIS is a GIS, FreeCAD is a CAD, and Google Suite can be free to nonprofits. So those tools really help us be more efficient and look more professional. Communicate, and be a force for good in the community beyond trail building. we can stop.
Awesome job, Terry. Thank you for speaking and for leading that effort in the Buckeye Lake area. We'll move right along here. I guess I have to, let me stop sharing and I will pull up the presentation with Leslie's slide. So next up we have Genoa Township.
Hi, everyone. You have my slides up already, Melinda?
I am working on it.
Okay. I didn't
Yes.
know if I wasn't seeing the right thing. I'll get started. I'm Leslie Strader. I'm the communication director with Genoa Township. But for some of you already know me, I spent a lot of time at the City of Columbus and also at Morpsey and had a hand in forming the COG board. So it's great to be back for this meeting to share some work that I've been doing here. I always like to start when I talk about Genoa Township by just giving a quick little geography lesson because most people are not up on their township locations. And you can go ahead and flip to the next slide, Melinda. So we're in southeastern Delaware County. We share a border with Westerville to our south. And you can see that we're really sandwiched between Hoover Reservoir and Elm Creek State Park. So it makes for a really scenic community. We have about 25,000 population. You can flip to the next slide. So when we come up in trail conversations, it's because of this little gray route here at the very top of the COG map. We call it locally the Genoa Trail, but location. It's a 4-mile stretch that's a regional trail of significance, and it's fine to click through these quickly, Melinda. It's also part of the Ohio to Erie Trail and a part of the Great American Rail Trail. So we're really proud to have a slice of those distinguished trails running through our small community. We really are a small township. So we don't even have a parks department. Our maintenance department maintains our trails and our parks. And it wasn't until 2021 that we actually got our first parks levy. So in 2020, I was the lead author on a new Parks and Trails master plan for Genoa Township, which led to our ballot initiative, just really small 0.6 mils, and our residents overwhelmingly passed that. And it was just enough money to kind of inspire the community to really bolster what we're doing in our parks. And we've had some great progress in that short period of time, including we just acquired, I put it as a star on this map here in the upper left-hand corner. We were just able to acquire a century farm on Lewis Center Road called Freeman Farm, and it connects to a parcel we have as a seasonal park on Jaycox Road. We just use for sledding, cross-country skiing. So we're going to be able to connect a trail from Jaycox Road to Lewis Center Road because of that new acquisition. So we've had just a lot of great momentum as a result of Parks and Trails Master Plan, and also that small levy really got us going. But if you flip to the next slide, Melinda, what Melinda asked me to talk about today is this area I've circled in yellow, kind of towards the bottom of your screen. We call it our Gateway Park. It's located at this really funny intersection where we held land. There's about 5 roads that come together: Route 3, Old 3C Highway, Mount Royal, and then there's this little access road in there as well. So it's a complicated intersection that our trail runs through. And that's a great picture of what it looked like back in 2018 when the Board of Trustees came to me and said, Leslie, we want to sign a welcome sign for the community, because a lot of times people come through from Westerville and they don't even know that they've left Westerville and that they're in a new community now, because we really blend seamlessly. So So I had this task, and they literally were picturing 2 wooden posts with a sign panel in between, and I thought, I don't think I can do that. Like, it just would not do our community any justice. It would not serve the trail users. And so I was able to convince the Board of Trustees that we needed something that would be more substantial and also multi-purpose. I didn't think that the community would respond well to us spending a great deal of money on a sign. But if the sign became more than a sign, if it became protection for trail users from the busy roads that are on either side of this very narrow parcel, maybe we'd have something to work with there. And on the aerial picture just before, what wasn't showing is just to the south is United Dairy Farmers, where trail users, it's such a great little pop on and off for a snack, a drink, run to the bathroom. Trek Bicycle Store is also just to the south. And when people buy bikes there, they use this piece of trail to test their bike. They ride up to the intersection, turn around, and come back down. So because of that, I was able to utilize our TIF fund to help fund this project. So I was able to convince the Board of Trustees that this
Leslie,
was
we have about 2 more minutes.
Okay, so I convinced the Board of Trustees this was a good idea. We hired OHM to create some plans for us. You can flip to the next one. I wanted to make sure this was something that was within the skill set of our own maintenance department. We saved about half on a construction costs that had been estimated by building this in-house. So we had to realign the trail away from the road to allow space for this and also comfort for cyclists. You can flip to the next slide. So here you just see our workers. They poured the wall. They did everything outside of putting the sign on. Brad Westall gave me information on this Deco Mark decal that we were able to put on the asphalt. That was a fun visual pun with north being indicated on the trail with the letter N in Genoa and south being indicated by S in Township. It was just a fun way to tie the project together. You can flip to the next slide. We were able to stay open during construction, which was great because this is a very popular section of trail for Pelotonia training routes. You can go to the next slide. So it was really cool as part of Trailpalooza that Delaware County was holding. We coincided with that and did a ribbon cutting. And the reason I say it was cool is because this strip of land used to be so barren and there would be no reason to stop other than to tie your shoe. And then to see this aerial image of it becoming a place for community gathering was really exciting for me. It was also just personally really fun because I got to play park designer since this was a communication project turned parks project, and I got to pretend to be like my park planning idols, Laura Ball and Brad Westall and Steve Studeman. So that was fun. So these are some after pictures. We put not just tables in, but tables that have checkerboards on top, swinging benches, just like a nice respite from your ride or run on the trail. Our residents are very satisfied whenever we do trail projects. It helped us create a sense of community. We do not have a town center, so our parks and our trails serve that purpose for us. And then we have a lot of other just exciting things in Genoa Township to check out. We have a Born Learning Trail in partnership with the health department. Combo's mountain bike course is located within Genoa Township. If you've not heard of Gnomewood, it's really fun, especially for new riders. Events. We have a story trail with Westerville Public Library. Charmar Preservation Park is within Genoa Township. And then the cross-country ski trail that I mentioned previously as well. Those are just a few.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Leslie. That's the coolest sign project that I've ever seen. So good job turning a sign into a park. It's really, really incredible. It would be fun if I could follow up with some of our wayfinding work that we're doing. A lot of what COG and MORPC and a number of our stakeholders have been doing with consultant designing local is thinking beyond maps and signage to encourage people to use our trails and help make the navigation experience more seamless. So what you've done there is something that I hope that we can see in a number of other trailhead locations. So good job, Leslie. All right, next up we have Olivia with Knox County. Olivia, did you have slides for me? No, we're not hearing Olivia. Okay, I'll work on getting Olivia on deck. Do we have Birdie?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Hi,
Okay,
Birdie.
great. I'm in Tip City and I'm pulling into a parking lot, so I'll get on camera in a second. So I just want to say, as the leader and founder of the Columbus chapter of Black Girls Do Bike, we enjoy being the beneficiary of all of these amazing plans and let me get on camera. The current, all of the great things. So I'm very familiar with Genoa Park and that beautiful sign. So I'll just kind of give some highlights. So as an organization, we are open to actually not just women of color, and we have men in our group and anybody who wants to utilize the trail. And we will actually kick off our season this year, April 7th. And we ride weekly. And last year was the first time we actually alternated ride start times because, not start times, start locations, because we were actually always going from Three Creeks and doing the Tour de Rickenbacker, and we decided not everybody wanted to fight with 270 and Route 33 traffic. So we ride weekly, and our rides are around 30 to 40 people, and we always have a trail option. Even people who've been expert riders do not necessarily want to ride on the road. So wherever we ride, we have a trail and a road option. So at Three Creeks, Rickenbacker, or the trail at Three Creeks. Last year, we also started at Hoover, so people could ride the trail, Tower Trail over to Elm Creek, or they could do the Tussock and past on the east side of the 3C highway and get to Oxbow. We also did some urban rides, and there are a lot of people who were definitely not clued in on all of the downtown riding. So we would leave at Wolf Park, and you could either get on the trail or you could get on the road. And the road riders were educated how to get to the Scioto Trail. We went past Franklin Park, Sherman, down to Oak. We rode in Bexley. We rode in Berwick. And people really got accustomed to that. We rode from Wolf Park to the Olentangy Trail up to campus. And so we even did a little route, New Albany and going east. The women have definitely gained knowledge. We also offer 25 milers an opportunity, and we go straight from the trail at Easton and head north. We offer 50 mile the same way. We start Easton and go north. And then we actually did a 100 miler. We started downtown up to Sunbury, back downtown, and then we went to Hills Market, Worthington, and back. Now, mind you, we were riding at 9 o'clock at night because one of our riders did have a hybrid, and we had some mechanicals, and we were riding in pitch blackness. And I was surprised because we saw deer laying down and they stood up, and they're probably thinking, what the heck? And we actually saw people riding alone in the dark on the trail. So we've really offered a lot of experiences for new riders, riders who never thought they'd ride on the street, riders who never thought they'd ride in the dark, riders who never thought that they would be comfortable in these settings. Our organization is part of a national organization. There are over 100 chapters of Black Girls Do Bike. We're one of the larger chapters. I'm going to be, I've been the lead for 10 years. I'm going to turn that over at the end of this year. But any opportunities or any trails that you want us to ride, we would be glad to do that. The Ohio to Erie Trail, we do have members who want to do the whole trail. I don't know if that'll be this year, but we definitely want to do that. We've had some rides on the Heritage Trail. And again, we are very thankful for all that everybody is doing to make riding a better place in Columbus, Ohio, and the vicinity.
Thank you so much, Birdie. And thank you for doing all of the work that you do to encourage people to use the trail facilities. That there's no point in all of us planning and building these facilities if people aren't using them. And thank you for just encouraging new people to check them out and helping us out with events like Celebrate Trails Day. So maybe Eric, now you might want to pop in and tell us about Celebrate Trails Day. Oh, we can't hear you. No. I think I can hear you now. No, never mind.
About now?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Somehow.
You're okay. Go talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That is wonderful. Okay. Can I do a quick screen share? That was the plan. And I'll go to Celebrate Trails Day first. And if we want to skip Great American, that is fine. Celebrate Trails Day is coming up, everybody. It is April 27th. It's always the fourth Saturday in April. And this is just a national day to to celebrate what we have, what your community has as far as trail assets go, introduce people, bring people back, just really kind of a early spring, get people out. This will be the third year in a row that we will be doing Celebrate Trails Day in Columbus at Genoa Park, partnering with Green Columbus and their Earth Day celebration. Many of you have been part of it for this is now going to be our third year in a row. And many of you are already planning on coming back. If anybody would like to participate, please reach out to me, eric@railstotrails.org. We have opportunities for your organization to table at the event, get up on the stage and speak. Typically, between 20 and 30,000 people show up for the Earth Day and Celebrate Trails Day, down there. So it's a big crowd. We have the Remember Us Urban Legends, Black Girls Do Bike, Yay Bikes are all working together on a bike ride. And so, just lots of fun events. It's going to be from 11 to 5. So it starts at 11 o'clock and goes through 5 o'clock. And the actual event goes past 5 o'clock with live music and bands and beer garden and all that fun stuff. And you're part of, this is just last year's. I wanted to show this quick. Celebrate Trails Day events happen in all 50 states. I mean, there's people everywhere that are doing things, which is really kind of fun. And you can get on the RTC Facebook page and people are constantly putting what's going on wherever they are in the country. It's really kind of a cool thing. So it's just a great way to have one day on the calendar where people all over the country are celebrating the fact that they have these awesome trails to go to. So if you have any interest in participating, by all means, just come down and have fun. But if you or your organization wants to participate as a partner and have a table, email me. I'll need final numbers for all of that by April 11th, I believe is my cutoff. But just reach out to me, or if it's easier, reach out to Melinda and then she'll shuttle you to me. But we've got a couple more planning calls that we'll put together. So invite any and all of you to come as a partner or just come as a participant and enjoy the day. It's always fun.
Yeah, and isn't our Celebrate Trails Day event the largest in the country?
It is by far the largest in the country, and I love that. I love making sure everybody at Rails to Trails Conservancy knows that the largest event in the country happens in Columbus. It's pretty sweet.
Well, Eric, if you want to share more about the Great American Trail, go for it.
Sure.
We'll have to plug Olivia in at a future forum.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I mean, what a crazy exciting meeting the whole thing has been from the projects in Greater Columbus to, Ohio to Erie. And so a quick update, I'm sure all of you or most of you are aware of the Great American Rail Trail. This is the RTC attempt at stitching together a multi-use trail from Washington, D.C. to Washington State. This year is the 5-year anniversary. Many of you were probably at the big event we had on the Camp Chase Trail. It was a national event. We had locations all over the country, but really the big focused event where we were live broadcasting was on Camp Chase, if you all remember that. That was 5 years ago, which is hard to believe. In those 5 years, there's been an additional 113 miles of trail opened along the corridor. There's been $117 million invested in trail development along the Great American just in the last 5 years. It's huge progress, right? We started at just over 50%. We're at 55%, which 5% may not sound like a lot, but 5% of 3,700 miles, pretty impressive, right? There's 160 miles right now there is money that is, we all understand how projects get built, right? 160 miles of trail that is happening. These are not speculative. These are not planned. These are projects that are underway. So that'll be another 6% of the route is underway. A couple other just fun infographics here, right? I just want to point you to some resources. If you're curious about how's the trail doing or how's the project doing, right? You can get into the website. Every single year, our project manager on this trail updates what we call our route assessment and goes through every single state. We have stakeholder groups in each state, and we comb through and document the current status in every state. So you can get into the route assessment on our website, and you can get into super detail on how many existing miles, how many gaps, how many gap miles, and the percentage of those. All of that's really well documented, and it's done on an annual basis. We have the interactive map if you want to get in, zoom out, mess around, get information, right? Like here's and you can pop up, there's the Ohio to Erie Trail section of the Great American Rail Trail, right? So you can get in here and play around anytime. It's super cool. And then you can get state to state information, right? Here's the Ohio page. You can get on here and get very specific information about what the route looks like, the updates on where the gaps still are. We did an projected economic impact study a couple of years ago. You can see that nationally. You can see the breakdown per state. It's really great. And then every single trail in Ohio that is a host of the Great American Route has a link on here as well. So there is so many resources. One other thing I'll mention is May 8th, which is the 5-year anniversary date of the announcement. There will be, every year we try to do something on the anniversary date. And this year it will be a kickoff on the steps of the Capitol building in DC. This will now be the 4th year that Warrior Expeditions, which is a veterans organization, after the Great American was announced, they decided they were going to use the Great American Route as one of their expeditions. And so for the 4th year in a row, there will be a group of military veterans that are going to bike the entire route. They'll leave the steps of the Capitol on May 8th. So they're going to be riding right through Columbus and Central Ohio. If you are interested or your organization is interested in meeting them on the trail or riding with them as they come through town or anything like that, they love that. And I can put you in touch with their support team. It's always a really cool opportunity, or even just go out and give them something cold to drink. They'd love that too. But it's a very cool thing. So if you're at all interested in that, let me know and I can put you in touch with their support team. Boom.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Jesse also put a link to our Outdoor Trails Pass. This is a partnership with Experience Columbus. We've been updating this pass annually in partnership with Experience Columbus. And this year, we've actually been able to work with a number of other local tourism groups to curate itineraries in local communities. So Grandview has an itinerary where you can use the trail and then hop off the trail and visit some local businesses. And there's a number of other local community itineraries that will be featured in the Outdoor Trails Pass. Thank you to all of the speakers, everyone that has stuck with us for just about 2 If you are not already involved in the Central Ohio Greenways working groups and you would like to get involved, we have a Trail Towns working group that just got started this year. The goal of the group is to really promote the trail experience and to launch a Trail Town program in Central Ohio based on a framework we developed last year. We also have a trail development working group, a number of local government staff, engineers, planners, and others that have a lot of knowledge about how to build trails are involved in that group. So please reach out to me if you're interested in participating in any of those working groups. And again, thank you for sharing all of your projects. This meeting is recorded, so if you wanted to take another peek at some of the awesome visuals that were shared, please take a look at the recording. All right, that's all I have today. Thanks, everyone. Keep up the good work.
Bye, everyone.
Linda.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Very informative.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.